So what's up, everybody? Welcome in. If you're just joining, drop a comment with where you're watching from. I like to see where you guys are coming from and how you guys are finding me. So here's what I keep seeing today, or lately rather. I go on several new buyer consultations, appointments every single week, and I keep seeing some of the same misconceptions, mistakes. I mean, really over and over. And these mistakes, misconceptions are costing people thousands of dollars, or sometimes even worse. It's costing them the home that they actually wanted. So, what we're going to do today, I'm going to go over 10 of my home buyer tips for first time buyers, or even if you are a second, third time buyer, what have you. There will be some relevance here for you. And one of them really just a survival tip. You'll see, watch to the end. But before we jump in, if you're watching live, do me a favor, comment right now. Tell me where you're actively house hunting, what areas you're looking at, what areas are interesting to you, just to start thinking about. And if you are helping out a family member, I want to know who's in the room so I can tailor this. So if you're trying to figure out where you want your kids to go, or you're helping your kids out, family, sister, cousin, friends, what have you, drop some comments. I'll give you some relevant information. Okay. So yeah, let's get into this. And before we do, my name is Justin King. This channel is Living in the Inland Empire, where we go over everything, i.e. home buying, home selling, what certain areas look like, a lot of new build tours lately, pros, cons. So to make sure you're informed and you're not missing out, hit the subscribe button. If there's anything I can help you out with, anything you want to talk one-on-one with, there's a Calendly link below. Also, my cell phone information and email are in the description, and I'll have them linked in the first comment. Reach out anytime, days, evenings, nights, weekends. What we do here is make sure that you guys are ready. Try and help you game plan as thoroughly as possible, so when you are ready to make that move, everything makes sense. You're making the best decision possible for yourselves and for your family. So with that, let's jump into these homebuyer tips. And a lot of these are stuff I come across often. I know there's a lot of misconceptions, a lot of misinformation, maybe older, outdated information. So I would like to try and, not clear it up, but maybe address it and kind of set you folks on the right path. First one, and this is going to be one of the most crucial ones, probably the most obvious too. Check your financial health before you really start talking or start looking too seriously. Before you call an agent, lender, just know what your numbers look like. A lot of folks that I get, reaching out, they have a rent that's 12 to 1,500 bucks a month. They want to find a mortgage for about the same. Unless you're coming in with a ton of cash, that's just really not going to be a reality. So know your numbers, know your debts, know your income, your debt to income ratio. It's usually a little off than what you think it is. Credit scores, using the Experience, the Equifax, TransUnion, or Credit Karma, they'll get you close, but it's not 100% the real deal. And also know what you can actually afford monthly. If you look at like the online calculators, the Zillow calculators, Bankrate, whatever, they give you best case scenario. So typically when they auto populate those, taxes aren't going to be 100% accurate. Even interest rate. When I go in and plug numbers into Zillow's, just because I like to kind of see what things are doing. Zillow, depending on the price point I'm putting in, it'll auto populate at 4%. 4% interest rates, those are gone. You're not going to find that anywhere. Some new builds offer some pretty competitive things, but if you're looking on Zillow at resale, 4%, that's not even going to get you close to what you should be looking for. Yeah, so like I said, online calculators, and then know your debt to income ratio. So what are your care bills? What are you spending on apps? Like Hulu's, Netflix, HBO's, those types of things. Klarna is a big one. I keep seeing a bunch of people up lately too. Klarna, those kind of pay-as-you-go type things, or for easy installation payments on something that's like $100. Once you get into underwriting and you're in escrow on something, those things can jam you up because the lender has no way of tracking those, and it shows up as a debt at some point. So just sit down with pen and paper, pencil, what have you. Write down what's going out every month, calculate that across your income, figure out what that ratio looks like. That should get you in the ballpark of what you can afford for a home, and that's going to be a monthly payment. When your lender gives you that pre-approval, they're giving you really what your monthly payment is going to afford you as far as a home. They're not saying, hey, you're approved for 500 grand, here's $500,000. They're saying, hey, you're approved for, what that'd be about $3,500 monthly. And that's how you're going to find your what you can afford as far as a home. Next one that I come across a lot is closing costs. A lot of folks, they don't know that closing costs are an added expense when you're buying a home. So when you're buying, you have your down payment and you have your closing costs. They're two separate things. Down payment, typically most common, is going to be FHA, 3.5% down. Closing costs, they could be as low as about 2%, but anywhere from 2 to 3%. And what that's going to be is prepaid taxes, prepaid insurance, and that's on top of your down payment. It trips people up all the time. When you're looking for loan programs, it'll say 3.5%. So that's kind of what you budget. So 3.5% on $500,000 is what, about 16,500. There's a whole nother expense on top of that. Sorry about that. A whole nother expense on top of that, and it's something that can jam you up if you know to budget for that and you know to look out for that. It's one less headache, one less shock value to come across. So when you're planning, figure about 2% to 5% of the purchase price when you're factoring down payment and closing costs. Obviously, it could be a lot higher from there. So let's play a quick game in the chat. Guess how much you think you actually need to save to buy a $500,000 house. Not a lot of people on here, so most common would be, I get people reaching out saying about $10,000. You're really going to need closer to about 25,000. So with your down payment on 3.5% on $500,000, figure about $16,000, and then an extra 8 to 10,000 on top of that. So 25,000 should be a very give you some buffer room, some wiggle room there. And tip number 3. This isn't the most popular opinion, but I say hire a realtor before a lender. Reason I say that is because your agents know the area. They act kind of as a project manager. We've worked with, dozens of local lenders, if not more. Myself personally, I've been at this about 11 years. So I'd say, yeah, dozens on the low end, when you're factoring in buyers bringing in their own lenders, doing listings, interviewing different lenders to make sure that my sellers are getting the best possible team on the other side. So we know who actually closes, who actually does business, who's actually available, and who's going to ghost their buyer in the middle of a transaction because they have bad news, and also who has the best rates, and then specific situations. So VA, FHA, conventional down payment assistance. Not all lenders can service all these things. I have a couple buyers right now where they're using a self-employed financing, so we're looking at bank statement loans, stated income loans. My lenders that do FHA, VA, they may not have the best programs for that kind of niche or special type of situation. And here's the bonus, and a good agent can guide you on how to shop multiple lenders if that's what you want to do. So you're not comparing rates without taking your credit score or getting a dozen hard pulls on your credit. So that way your credit's starting to drop because you're getting all these random. So if you are watching this and you do have an agent, drop a home emoji in the comments. I just like to kind of get a gauge for what's going on, on this channel, or what people are looking for and what kind of questions they may have. Like I said, any questions you guys have, even if you are working with other agents, drop them in the comment, or if you already are working with a lender, drop them in the comment. No harm, no foul. I'd love to get those questions answered for you. Now, tip number 4, this is going to be kind of a short show tonight. Tip number 4, this one, if you are working with a realtor or a lender, I'm sure you've heard this beat to death. Don't open any new credit, and do not quit your job during an escrow. This one's super important, so remember this, because I have seen this blow up deals, on day 28, 27, what have you. Lenders are going to recheck your credit, and they will recheck your employment right before closing. And that's not just the way they go about a pre-approval where it's a stated thing, or they see, a 30 or 60-day-old document. They will reach out to your employer right before closing and get an updated, they call it verification of employment. So if you finance a new couch, a new car, appliances is the big one, you're buying right before the holidays, or you get that new job offer and you take it mid-escrow, it could literally kill the deal. So once you are pre-approved, I would say put your credit cards on a block of ice, or use them very minimally if you absolutely have to. So no new financing, no new cars, no career pivots until you actually have your keys in hands. You would rather be safe than sorry. So like I said, with this one, I have seen this happen quite a bit, where somebody accepts a new job mid-escrow, they go out and buy the new appliances, and it throws off their debt to income, or that VOE is no good anymore because you don't have the time on the job to prove that you've been there long enough to be a stand-up employee or solid employee. All right, so tip number 5, and this one's crucial for when you're actually under contract. These are going to be your, we'll call them your get out of jail free cards. These are going to be your 3 crucial contingencies. So once you're under contract, you bring that deposit in, now you got about 1% on the line. These are going to be the 3 things that protect that deposit so you don't lose it once you get into contract. First one's going to be your home inspection contingency. Second one's going to be your appraisal contingency. Third is going to be your loan or finance contingency. So what the inspection contingency does is let you walk away and collect your deposit if the home has any serious issues. The HVAC isn't looking too hot, roof is shot, water stains that the seller can't explain, and you don't know if you want to get into that can of worms by going any further. If any of these do come up, you can't remedy with them seller, you can't get that price drop, you can't get the credits, you can't get that explanation that makes you feel 100% comfortable moving forward. You can walk. You can cancel that contract, get your deposit, and walk. Next one, appraisal contingency. So say the home appraises for less. Some issues come up on the appraisal because they do their own independent inspection. It's nothing too thorough. But if they do notice, some dry rot, some water staining, maybe some obvious defects with the roof that didn't come up in the home inspection, or you didn't notice when you're looking at the home, seller's not willing to remedy those, or that appraisal comes in low, you can't find a middle ground, seller doesn't want to drop the price, you don't want to come in with extra cash, you can take that deposit, cancel, go on to the next one. Third one is going to be the finance contingency or loan contingency. So say your loan falls through, and quite frankly and sadly, I've been seeing this one happen quite a bit. Lenders aren't fully qualifying you right off the bat. They're just kind of giving you that pre-approval, so you go shopping. Now they're kind of into it. They don't want to go back on their word, so they figure they're just going to try and figure out how to get this closed. Something happens with that. The debt to income was miscalculated. They missed those taxes. They missed the HOA payment. That blows up your debt to income, pushes you over that 50% for conventional or 56.99 for FHA. So now you don't qualify for that loan. As long as you haven't removed that contingency, you can cancel, walk, go on to the next one, or the other one too. God forbid you lose your job. You're not going to qualify for that loan anymore. You can cancel, go on to the next one. And that's as long as you don't, remove these contingencies or waive them. This isn't 2021, 2022 anymore, where people are just waiving those right off the bat. Usually going under contract, you have those 3 protecting you. Fourth one, and I didn't have this noted on here, would be if you were contingent on selling a home. So you're going through the sell side to buy this home. Something happens with your current home. You can't find a new buyer in time, or what have you. You can cancel, go on to the next one. So don't waive these without understanding them, because they are crucial. Typically you have 17 days for all 3, unless you want to be more aggressive on your offer to get the contract accepted. Sometimes we'll do inspection as low as 10 days, appraisal we could do in 10 days, finance. If you have a full approval right off the bat, usually you could waive that within about 10 days. But, kind of a rule of thumb is about 17 days on any of these. If you haven't removed those contingencies, you can cancel, go on to the next one. So, and this is going to be tip number 6. We'll call this the funnel method for house hunting. And this is more of a strategy when you're actually looking at homes or getting ready to look, because how you search matters just as much as what you're searching for. So I would say don't try and see everything all at once. You want to start with a kind of wider net, broad location or locations, and broad must-haves. That's going to be where your funnel starts. Then as you start touring homes, kind of see what those must-haves versus just kind of wants are, depending on the area. Then you can kind of start narrowing down the funnel. So, you want the 5 bedrooms, but you want to be in Riverside. Your budget isn't quite allowing for that. Now let's go over to Moreno Valley. You don't really like the area. Maybe that 5-bedroom must-have turns into more of a want. So we look at 4 bedrooms in Riverside. That's really how you funnel it down. But you really don't know what that looks like or what those homes or those neighborhoods feel until you're out there shopping. What I see a lot too is like I said, the 5 bedrooms or the yard. A lot of folks want a big yard. When they get into a certain area and they see what that yard looks like or kind of the maintenance that's going to be on it versus what that cost is, we can kind of adjust from there. Just got a comment on here. We would like to work with you when I get my settlement money, so you can set me and my family up with a... Yeah, shoot me a message. I'll put my phone number in the text here. Send me a text, and I'll get you set up. Or we could touch base, see what you guys are looking for. But shoot me a text to that number there. That's my cell phone. You can reach out anytime. Um, yeah, we can game plan from there. Put you on a timeline, figure out where you guys are looking, and then get going that way. So back to the funnel method. Um, that's going to kind of, I see this burn a lot of people out because they want to see everything at the same time. They want to look at homes in Pomona versus homes in Corona versus homes in, let's say, Rialto. When you're looking at that same price point for those three cities, you're going to have vastly different homes. So you're going to get overwhelmed. And what happens a lot too, when I take first-time home buyers out, especially, I try and cap searches at about maybe 5 houses, because I notice after about 4 or 5, you forget certain features or certain things or details about the homes. When you're looking at about 4 or 5 homes a day, usually it's kind of easier to keep track. But when you're looking at more than that, I've had people that fly in from out of state, so we have to see 15 or 16. For that, we take a lot of notes, take a lot of video. Even then, it's hard to keep track. But yeah, that leads to burnout when you're looking at too many and a certain amount of time. You get overwhelmed, overstimulated, and they all start to kind of run together. You forget what you're looking for, you forget what you saw. So that Orange Crest neighborhood, you don't really remember the details of it versus that, let's say, Larkspur neighborhood or Cowboy Street, what the details are there. All right, and now we're going to go into tip number 7. I'm going to say judge the market reaction, not the listing price. So the quick gut check for you, the listing price is not really the truth 100% of the time. It's more of a marketing strategy. Some sellers see a price low to set a price low to start a bidding war. Some price high, hoping for somebody to come in and overpay, or they want to do the eBay strategy where you price high, see if you can get somebody to bid up, or maybe they come in low and you get your price. Doesn't typically work. As realtors, we are trained, whatever, that's a good word. We're trained to price homes at market value. Personally, I know that if I start a home too high, whether that be $10,000, $20,000 over list price, my sellers are going to miss a good portion of the market. So those first couple weeks are crucial, and we'll get into that here in a second. Those first couple weeks are crucial. So if a seller is listing high, it's let's say $675,000 house, they want to price at $725 just to see what happens. Buyers at that $675 that can afford it, they're not going to look at $725 thinking, oh, I can negotiate them down. Typically, when we start looking for that, those homes that might come down in value, it's homes that have been sitting for 21 days plus. If it's 50, 60 days plus, we're going to look at bigger discounts. But we know at that point that buyers or that seller is probably a little more burnt out on showing the home or waiting for showings that aren't happening. So they're a little more open to negotiating. So first couple weeks on the market, you see that house for $675, you want to offer $625. Sellers probably not even going to respond, to be honest. They're thinking they have time on their side, so they'll just wait for the next couple weeks, see what happens, see if they get their showings. So you want to judge the market reaction, days on market price, not the listing price. So like I said, how many days on market? Also, if it's kind of a hot property or it looks really good and it's been sitting a little bit longer, have your realtor find out how many offers are on it or how many offers they've had. Also, look at how many price reductions they've had or have they actually had any. That's really going to gauge the temperature of the market. So a home sitting for 45 days with no offers, you're probably going to have leverage when you negotiate. So that could be coming in a little bit lower, asking for help with closing costs if you do come in at asking for more concessions. Now a home with 5 offers in the first week, completely different conversation. You're probably going to be reducing those contingency periods. You're probably going to be coming in for over list price. You're probably not going to be asking for as many concessions. So if you've experienced this, whether it's 2020 versus the last couple of weeks, drop a comment. Let me know your experience with this. Am I kind of on track for your experience with judging the market temperature versus the listing price? All right, so that brings us to tip number 8, post-closing maintenance fund. This one isn't really talked about a lot, and this is one that you probably will lose sleep over if you don't plan for it, budget for it, or pay attention to. A lot of first-time home buyers, especially in this market, drain their account completely to afford that down payment and closing costs. Then month 2, 3 hit, water heater breaks, AC dies in the middle of summer. Now you're kind of in a financial conundrum. So with your budget, try not to go to zero. Try and keep a separate household emergency fund. I would recommend between $5,000 and $10,000. I know that's a lot, but try to keep that for home improvements or home maintenance type issues. Good news with your home. Typically almost 90% of the time, we're able to negotiate a 1 year home warranty. So a lot of those issues aren't going to be as much of a burden. Stuff like AC, roof, typically your home warranty is not going to cover 100% of it. Water heater, that's the most common one that we see go out, after the close of escrow is the water heater. Almost all, I haven't come across a lot of home warranties will cover that water heater. So, and kind of the mental shift for a lot of folks is when you're renting, you just have the landlord is taken care of. When you buy, you are the landlord. Okay, so now this brings us to tip number 9, and this is going to be plan the exit before you buy. So even if this is your first home, think about it with the end in mind. How long do you plan on being here? Is this a short-term thing? Is it a long-term thing? Is this a 3 to 5 year home? Is this a 10-year home? Is it your forever home? So when you're looking at the home, do I see it, me the buyer, actually see it as sellable in that time frame? Or could this home be converted to a rental if my plans do change? What I see happen probably more than anything else, people say this is gonna be my 10-year home. Within about 4 to 5 years, they're looking for the next one. So whatever your time frame is, just mentally kind of cut it in half and kind of think of it in that regard. So a home with a built-in exit strategy kind of protects you and sets you up financially and mentally, no matter what happens in life. Job relocation, growing family, maybe a job change, maybe change in what you're looking for in a home, because I do see that a lot. What I've been seeing more and more, it's just kind of living in California, is folks buy a tract home, they decide they hate living in a neighborhood, sell and move out of state. Okay, so and now the last one, when you're going out, and this one's a little more light, when you're going out and looking at homes, especially if you're looking at for more than 4 or 5, you got little ones, pack a cooler, pack some snacks. A lot of times we're out looking, we have to schedule these showings in advance because people are still living in most of these homes. So we have to work around, a family schedule to get in. So, when we're stopping to grab lunch or stopping to grab gas or a snack or doing the bathroom breaks, that kind of throws it off. So now we have to recalibrate or reschedule. Kind of throws a wrench in the gears. Also makes it a little bit easier if you're looking at homes and you feel more comfortable. You're not thinking about like, damn, I can't wait till this is done because I can't wait to grab a Dr. Pepper or what have you. So pack a cooler, snacks, water, sodas, energy drink, whatever. If we're looking at about 4 or 5 houses, usually we could be done within about 2 hours. So it doesn't have to be, picnic or anything crazy like that. Okay, so that's all I got. I don't see any questions in the chat. So to reiterate, know your numbers, save for your closing costs as well as a down payment. I would interview realtors before I would interview lenders, just because lenders are great. If you have a friend or a family member that's a lender, pick their brain, use them a little bit. They may have a great realtor they can connect you with, but I would say interview agents first, because we're going to know the areas, we're going to know the market, we're going to know how things are looking as far as days on market, trends in the housing, what sellers are doing, what the market's doing, and kind of where we need to be searching. So if you are approved for 600, can we shop up a little bit? Maybe hope for some, some price drops or some concessions in that way. And then we can get you in touch with one of our, trusted lenders. Personally, I try and keep 2 or 3 in rotation. Then I have my bullpen, so when one of them drop out, I have other ones I can kind of dip into if I need something that, a little more special, like land, bank statements, stated income. I do have lenders that specialize in that. Not all lenders will. Also, don't touch your credit during escrow. Know and understand your 3 contingencies. That will make you feel a lot more comfortable when you start talking about offers and what days on market, escrow times, and what the seller's asking for. Lately, the big thing I'm seeing now, a lot of listings are contingent on finding another home. So understand what kind of contingencies you have going into that situation, and how to structure your offers so you're protected, because there's a, I don't want to say completely way to go about those, but there's a few tweaks and nuances and also expectations that really need to be in a line. Next one, funnel method. So start with your search, start broad, and then kind of funnel it down to what you're looking for. A lot of times I get folks that want to start looking in one area only. That doesn't work for their budget. So now it's, it's kind of a mad dash to find that next best area. So research different areas, use this channel, use me as a resource for that. We call that the funnel method. Also, number 7, watch the market, not the price. Know your price range, but watch what the market's doing. Watch what the homes in that price point are doing. If you're looking at $800,000, are most of those homes going really quick, or most of those homes sitting for a while? How many price reductions did it take for them to get to $800,000? Did they go up to 800? Did they drop to 800? Is it a 6-month process? Has it just been listed at 800? Keep a maintenance fund. Know your exit strategy on the home. I know that's not the most sexy advice, but it's served me well, served a lot of my clients well. Also, pack accordingly for those long days out looking at homes. So if you are actively buying right now, drop a comment with the tip that hit you the hardest. I'll be replying to as many as I can after we wrap up. I do try and go through, respond to every comment I get on this page. I just like to kind of keep the banter going. And if this did help you, hit subscribe, because next week, we'll have a whole nother topic. Actually, in the comments, drop what you would like to see covered. I try and hit the highest searched topics in real estate, or if I'm out showing or on appointments, I do try and cover some of the most asked questions that I think probably should be out there that maybe aren't as searchable. So I guess with that, we'll wrap it up. If you made it here to the end, thank you guys so much for watching. Also, don't forget to hit subscribe. Contact information is below. If there's anything at all I can help you with, what I do is help people game plan, so that way when you are ready to move, you were making 100% the best decision. You're the most educated as you possibly can in it. Again, thank you guys for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.